Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family. If you jump on here live here on this Tuesday, final day in the month of June 2026, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Make sure to give the video a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please share the video on all social media platforms. Good evening, Keveron. I'm glad to have you here, as always. But I'm going to switch things up a little bit this week. I've done this before, but I don't do it very often. But I'm going to do this week's Top 10 Countdown tonight. And if you watch the channel frequently, you know that it's normally on Wednesdays. But there's a couple of reasons why I'm changing it up this week. I did this a few weeks back, but that was just to do something different, to, kind of break out of the ordinary, to become so monotonous. So that was intentional, and I had that idea, going into the week. But this week I didn't. But unless you watched last week's Top 10 Countdown and saw it live, you would. I didn't do one because for whatever reason, last Top 10 Countdown didn't fall on the YouTube channel. I don't know why. I know that I did it. And I know that my man Jimmy got on there and commented and said that it was glitching real bad. And I hated to hear that. But when you're doing a video, unless the time stops on the video, you don't know you're glitching, because on this end, everything looks the same. But I know that it couldn't have glitched the whole time because I was getting comments on what I was talking about. Well, you kind of can't comment on what someone's talking about unless you hear what they're talking about. So I know that at least parts of it had to have played, but maybe it glitched so bad YouTube just didn't load it. I don't know. All I know is I've gone back all this week and looked, and I can't find last week's Top 10 Countdown. So I figured, you know what, since last week's didn't, for whatever reason, fall on the channel video log, I'll go ahead and do this week's early. Plus, it's a college football Top 10 Countdown, and when we wake up in the morning, since it'll be July, we'll be able to officially say that college football starts this month. We start having not actual games, but people really started, and I don't care about media days, but some people do. But you can also, starting tomorrow, say that football starts next month, because college football starts in August and high school football starts in August. And the NFL Hall of Fame game is usually the first weekend in the month of August. So starting tomorrow, you can say football will start next month. And even though college football won't start in July, you feel like it does with all the workouts and stuff going on and all the media days going on. And this is really when smack talk season first, gets started. And you start hearing people, give their early season predictions on national championship, who wins the Heisman, who's coach of the year, who's the first coach to get fired, and all that kind of good stuff. This week's Top 10 Countdown also caught my attention because it's supposedly the top 10 coaches on the hot seat. Hey there, Fart Boy. Glad to have you here. Now, I can't tell you who released this article because I don't know. I know that it was shared on one of the social media college football pages, which is where I saw it at. But when I saw the college football social media page, I didn't see a link as to who actually originally released it. So I can't tell you. I don't want to be wrong. But it's the supposed top 10 coaches on the hot seat heading into the season. And a lot of them, to me, are pretty obvious ones. But there's one on here, which is why I titled the video, When Will the Experts Learn? Because there's one on here that is in no danger of being on the hot seat. Hey there, Jonathan. Glad to have you here. John, I'm not quite sure what you're asking. But believe it or not, all I know really, for the most part, is sports and crazy stuff and some music. So if that question is something to do with the world in general, I have no idea who Benjamin Netanyahu is and no idea who Big H is. So I cannot answer that question. So if you're asking me a serious question and wanting an answer, I have no earthly idea who Big H is. So I cannot answer that question. But nevertheless, thank you for checking in on this Tuesday evening. But there's one name on here that is the same name that appeared in a couple of hot seat lists last season. And then he landed on a hot seat list after the season of supposedly guys that would be on the hot seat going into the season. And I've said this multiple times, and I'll keep saying it until the experts do learn. This man is not on the hot seat. This man is not getting fired. The only way he gets fired is if he goes 4-8 or worse. Anything better than 4-8, he's not getting fired, and he shouldn't get fired. So I think that thinking the man's on the hot seat, if you really think that, makes you seem like somebody that has no idea what you're doing. Because if you know anything at all about college football, you know this man ain't getting fired. But without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about the top 10 coaches on the hot seat heading into the 2026 college football season. Hey there, I'm going to hope that's pronounced Nubia. If I pronounced it wrong, I apologize, but nevertheless, glad to have you here on this Tuesday evening. If you're new to the channel, feel free to give the video a like, a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends, tell your family the channel. Make sure you share the video on all social media platforms. Fire, we're finna find out if he is number one or if he's on the list at all. We'll talk about that in a couple of seconds. And Jonathan, what you're talking about, I'm assuming is political, which is why I have no earthly idea what you're talking about. You'll probably never meet anybody who knows less about politics than what I do. So if you actually are inquiring on, wanting to learn about something that's, we'll say, based around politics, you're on the wrong channel. Now, if you want to come learn about sports, talk about sports, it's fine. But if you gave me a 5-question quiz and told me to answer all 5 questions to win $1 million and they were about politics, I'd probably more than likely get all 5 wrong. It's the way it's always been. It's the way it always will be. That's something I have never cared to get involved in and never will. And hey there, Haywood, and I am ready for some football. Fuber, believe it or not, you might find this hard to believe. By the way, Fuber, I think you're new to the channel as well. I don't recognize your name. And if you are new here, thank you so much for stopping by. Feel free to give us a like, a thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you tell your friends, tell your family about the channel. And you see the thermostat behind my head, but you think it's a thermostat that works. It doesn't. When we bought this house, we decided we're not going to live on central heat and air, because you do that and all that stuff is up here. It'll run your mind. And in the wintertime, you can never get hot enough. And in the summertime, you can never get cold enough. And you'll have your thermostat set on all kinds of things, just trying to get cool or hot. And it's all up here. If you let your body sit in a room, you can adjust to a temperature. So that thermostat's on the wall because it was on the wall when we moved here. And I'm not taking it down because it's going to put a big old hole in the wall. But it does not work. We use box heaters in the wintertime, and we use window units in the summertime, and that's all we use because that's the way it's always been. And matter of fact, I've been driving Fuber for 25 years almost, and I've never had a vehicle with an AC in it, because every time I go to buy one, I always find a car that's, got a good deal on it. But the AC's never worked. And I'm not going to turn down a car that's available, that's a good deal, that runs good, just because the air don't work. So, in all my years of driving, I've never had a car with an AC unit in it. So, it doesn't bother me. I don't let things like that bother me, because what happens, especially in the summertime, is people get inside and they get indoors, and there's things they want to do, things they say they're going to do, but they'll turn on their central air in the house, and they'll set it to 68 or 67 or whatever yours is set to, and let the house get good and cold, and then they'll sit down and they'll say, well, you know what, I was going to do this and that, but man, it sure does feel good in this house. And next thing you know, you've done sat there all day long and you ain't done diddly squat, because you were comfortable being lazy because your house was cold. So I don't believe in that. So we use window units, and that is all we have. And thank you, Fuber. I appreciate that. But honestly, Fuber, I appreciate that comment. But the mind is a very, 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 very powerful thing. And I always tell all my friends and anybody going through anything that the mind is a very, very powerful thing. And if you let anything get in your mind and convince you of anything, good or bad, you're not going to change your mind. And that's why I always let my mind be full of positivity. Because if you let negative things get in your mind, you will drive yourself absolutely crazy. Well, Stinky, glad to have you here from Ohio. Thank you so much for checking in. Glad to have you here on this Tuesday evening, the last day in the month of June. If you are new to the channel, feel free to give the video a like, a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends, tell your family about the channel, and make sure you click that bell so you'll be notified whenever I go live, because after you subscribe and you click that bell, you should be notified whenever I go live. And Stinky, so glad you are here. And Stinky, I try to tell all the new people, because some are and some aren't, but I try to tell everybody that's new here that I'm the same guy in person as I am on here. I don't have no YouTube persona, good or bad. This is me all the time, day and night. I don't believe in bad days. I'm a very positive person, always have been. And I'm also on Facebook. So if you're on Facebook, feel free to send me a friend request on Facebook. And you can message me on Facebook and tell me who you are, and I'll be more than happy to, respond when I can. I may not see your message right away, but I will see it eventually. And tell me who you are, and I'll be more than happy to talk to you. I talk to anybody as long as they carry on legit conversations. If you want, talk something silly or just make stuff up, I ain't got time for that. But, if you can come on there and carry on the same kind of, conversation that goes on here, I'm totally fine with that. And no, I do not, Stinky. And that's why I told you about Facebook, because Facebook is the only social media I have. I don't have Snapchat. I don't have Twitter. I don't have TikTok. I don't have whatever else is out there. I didn't have Facebook till a few years ago, because I started this here YouTube channel, and I thought, you know what? How's a YouTube channel going to grow if nobody knows about it? So I'm going to have to somehow, some way get on social media and talk about it a little bit. So I kind of thought about all the different social media platforms, and I decided that Facebook, out of all the awful ones, was the least awful one. So I've got it for that. But if it wasn't for my YouTube channel and my wrestling career, I wouldn't have any social media at all. And my wife is actually visiting her mama. Thank you for asking. She tries the best to take our kids over there this time of the year, because they have school. Once school starts back, and stay so busy that they can't stay up late. So usually in the summertime, she tries to go visit her mom. And thank you for asking. But now let's go ahead and get into our top 10 countdown of the supposed top 10 coaches on the hot seat. Number 10 is a guy that is not getting fired. I don't know why people keep thinking he is. He's not. And that's Dabo Swinney. And as I said a while ago, unless he goes 4-8 or worse, he's not getting fired. How you go to a school and you have all those consecutive 10-win seasons, you play for 4 national championships, you win 2 national championships, and then you have 1 7-5 season, and you're getting fired. So his bad season wasn't even a losing season. It was still a winning season, but no, it wasn't winning the conference championship. No, it wasn't going to the playoffs, but it was still a winning season. Dabo Swinney is not on the hot seat. I've said it numerous times. He will be at Clemson as long as William Christopher Swinney wants to be at Clemson. And Stinky, you ain't got to say that, because unless you say that, nobody knows that. But I do appreciate you saying that, but that doesn't mean anything to me, because to me, we're all the same. Number 9, Lincoln Riley. That I can see, because ever since he left Oklahoma to go to USC, he just hasn't done anything at USC. Now, supposedly, this year, if you believe all the talk, this year you're finally going to see USC start to turn the corner. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to win the national championship, but the way USC has struggled lately, if they go 9-3 or 10-2, it's a success. Number 8 is the guy that should already be gone, but the fact that he's not already gone leads me to believe that unless he comes out this year and just goes 2-10 or 1-11, or God forbid, for his sake, 0-12, he's not getting fired, because he hasn't done absolutely anything. But there is no sign of him being threatened to be fired, and that is Mike Locksley. I thought, as bad as Maryland was last year, he'd have been fired last year, but it didn't happen. It seems like they're content being absolutely awful. Number 7 is the Bill O'Brien. Of course, coach at Boston College. Every time Boston College gets a coach, they either get a good coach and they run him off, or they get a coach like Bill O'Brien that's not bad, but they don't give him time to turn the program around. But I think as long as Bill O'Brien goes 6-6, I think he'll be fine. That's my opinion. You think we get a trailer to Red Dead Redemption 3 a year after GTA? Are you talking video games? I think you are. I think GTA is a video game. But Warzone, believe it or not, I have not played a video game in probably 20 years. So I know a lot of the names from knowing people that play them, or, going into a store that, you walk by the video game section and see them sitting there. But as far as me playing a video game, I think the last time I played one, I think I was 20 or 21, so probably 20 years ago. I said, you know what? Not me. I can't sit down long enough to play a video game all day long. And I sat down for like a college football game, and I'd play 1 quarter on Monday, 1 quarter on Tuesday, 1 quarter on Wednesday, and 1 quarter on Thursday. So it'd take me half a week to play one game. So I thought, you know what, it'll take me 6 months to play one season, so I'm not even going to start. So I have not played, but I'm sure if Red Dead Redemption's a new game, I'm sure there'll be a trailer. There's a trailer for everything nowadays. Number 6 is Deion Sanders, and I've already said it on here that I think this will be Deion's last season. I don't think Deion could coach. I've never thought Deion could coach. He had one good season at Colorado when he had Travis Hunter and his son playing quarterback. But outside of that, Deion's done nothing impressive, and I don't expect the Buffaloes to be any good this year. But I don't think he'll get fired. I think he'll see the writing on the wall, and I think he'll either resign or claim he's retiring to avoid getting fired. But I do think this will be Deion's last year in Colorado. Again, 10-6. Dabo, Lincoln Riley, Mike Locksley, Bill O'Brien, and Deion Sanders. Number 5 is Bill Belichick. It's hard for me to believe a coach could get fired in 2 years, especially Bill Belichick, because North Carolina had to know going in this wasn't going to work. You're hiring a guy that's 147 years old that's never coached in college football at a program that doesn't have a huge history of winning at college football, and the man is only focused on his 22-year-old girlfriend. The last thing on his mind is winning college football games. So North Carolina had to know going in this wasn't going to work. So I feel like if you know going in it's not going to work, and then you still hire the guy, then you're obviously showing you don't care. So why would you turn around and go right back and fire the guy that should have never been hired in the first place? So should Bill Belichick get fired? Yes. But should Bill Belichick have been hired? No. But I think if they show any kind of improvement off last season, he'll be retained. Number 4 is the guy that somebody commented on a while ago, Shane Beamer. And I think this will be his last season in Columbia because I've seen their schedule. I've seen their roster. To me, if they go 6-6, I would call that a success. But if you're Shane Beamer and you're trying to save your job, I don't know if Shane Beamer can keep his job at 6-6, because if they keep retaining him going 6-6, then as long as he goes 6-6, you've got to keep him. So if you're the Gamecocks, you're showing that you're just happy getting by and finishing 500 every year. So I think unless he goes 8-4, he's gone, and I don't see any way they go 8-4. Number 3, Luke Fickell. And this is a hire that I've got to admit so far I've been wrong on. When he took that job, I thought, oh yeah, that'll work. He'll be a huge success there. But so far, for whatever reason, it just has not worked for Luke Fickell. Maybe he'll turn it around this year, but I feel like if he goes 6-6, he'll be fine. They just want to see some kind of improvement because he's been absolutely awful so far. Number 2 is Dave Aranda. I don't know about Dave Aranda. His overall record is just average, but it's not like he's going 2-10 or 3-9. For the most part, he's consistently winning no less than 5, no more than 7 games every year. And there was a time you coached Baylor and you won 5 games. I mean, you were coach of the year. But after those couple of good seasons they had under Briles, for a while they were convinced they could be a permanent fixture inside the top 10. I think now they finally realized that's not reality. So I think as long as David Aranda keeps going 7-5 year in, year out, I think he's fine. And number 1 is Mike Norvell. And, you know, we've talked about this numerous times because there's been rumors now for about 2 years that the only reason Mike Norvell has not been fired is because of the buyout, because Florida State says, hey, we're still paying Willie Taggart. We're still paying Jimbo Fisher. We can't afford to fire Mike Norvell and add him to the list of coaches we're still paying and then hire somebody else. And now we're paying 4 coaches all at the same time. So according to the people in Tallahassee, whether it's fans, whether it's writers, whether it's columnists, whoever it may be, radio people, doesn't matter, they're all saying pretty much the same thing, that the only thing that has saved Norvell's job is the buyout. So if that's the case, he's not on the hot seat because his buyout doesn't drop until after next year, I think. So if that's the case, you know, there's no way he gets fired unless he goes 0-12. I don't care if your buyout is $75 million. If you go 0-12, you're gone. But if the buyout really is keeping his job, I think as long as he goes 6-6, he'll be fine. But I believe his buyout goes down after next season. If that's the case, then I can see him being gone after next season. But if the only thing keeping his job is the buyout, if that's true, and it's not moving this year, then I don't think he's on the hot seat unless he goes 0-12 because you can't go 0-12, but they're not going 0-12. But I did my Florida State prediction, and I've got them going 6-6. If they go 6-6, I think he keeps his job. But I believe top to bottom, their overall roster is better than last year. But my problem with Florida State this year is I just think they've got a dumpster fire at quarterback. I mean, you've got pedestrian quarterback play at best, and that's putting it nicely. I don't care who plays. You can play A, B, C, or D. They all suck. And this day and time, with football being all about quarterback play, I just don't see how you go 8 or 9 wins when you don't have a quarterback. And Florida State just does not have a quarterback. Now, talent-wise, I think they've improved. But quarterback-wise, they haven't been great the last couple of years. But the guys they've had the last couple of years are gold compared to what they have this year. Unless they hold everybody to 7 points and win games 10-7, I just don't see how they go more than 6-6. Because some of those games they play, if they don't score at least 24, they're not winning. And with their quarterback play, I don't see any way they score 24 points. But there it is, this week's Top 10 countdown. Top 10 coaches on the hot seat heading into the 2026 college football season. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. Old people were the original AI. We used to rely on their ancient intelligence. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.